Merci, Madame Fortier. Merci, cher Mona. Merci, Madame la Présidente. C'est un grand plaisir d'être ici parmi vous. Good evening. Look, it's been a while since I was in your shoes at university. It's been a long while, actually. It's been a long while, but one of the things is that there are some similarities to our experiences. Okay? Trust me, I'm going to draw them out. The fact is, in particular, we will have both studied and entered the workforce. You will soon enter the workforce during times of immense change. Okay? And I've learned a few things since I graduated, and I've increasingly understood this point that, life doesn't proceed in a straight line. And that the history and the progress of nations are punctuated by hinge moments. Times when the future literally hangs in the balance and when our actions can be decisive. Et dans des moments comme celui-ci, nous devons être audacieux. Il faut tracer une nouvelle voie et il faut le faire ensemble. Le Canada traverse un moment comme celui-là aujourd'hui. Les changements technologiques s'accélèrent.
The world is more dangerous and divided. The U.S., as we all know, has fundamentally changed its approach to trade.
It's raising its tariffs to levels last seen during the Great Depression. And the scale and the speed of these developments are not part of a smooth transition, they're a rupture. And they mean that our economic strategy needs to change dramatically. And they mean as well, even though we both lived through time, or I lived through times of immense change, your future will not be the same as my past. Because my time as a student was marked by events of a similar magnitude, but in a very different direction. When I was your age, the Berlin Wall fell, leading to a long period of liberalization of the movement of goods, capital, and people, leading to a peace dividend. C'était une époque d'optimisme, d'espoir et de promesses. Et ces dynamiques favorisaient particulièrement le Canada.
Notre géographie enviable nous donnait l'accès à la plus vaste et à la plus dynamique des économies et nous tenait à distance de la plupart des guerres et des attentats terroristes qui ont eu lieu. So, because of these advantages, over decades our economy grew steadily more integrated with the United States through the Free Trade Agreement of the 1980s, the NAFTA Accord of the 1990s, and eventually USMCA agreement signed in 2018. Canada's trade increased by over 400% during that period, and our economy doubled in size. But this process, this decades-long process of an ever closer economic relationship with the United States, is now over. And as a consequence, many of our former strengths as a country, former strengths more particularly as our economy, strengths based on close ties to America, have become our vulnerabilities. And as a result of that, the jobs of workers in our industries most affected by the US tariffs in autos and steel and lumber are under threat. And our businesses are holding back investments restrained by the pall of uncertainty that's hanging over all of us. Our relationship with the United States will never again be the same as it was, even though in this new world of protectionism, we have the best trade deal of any other country, and we're working to make it even better still. Now, at the same time that all of this is happening, technology is changing the way we work, live, and communicate. When I was in graduate school, the World Wide Web, as we then called it, was that was the modern term of the information superhighway, if you ever heard of that. The World Wide Web, as we then called it, was just beginning. We used pen and paper in class. We talked on the telephone to each other. We talked about the same news stories, the same movies, the same bands. My generation was connected by wires, yours is connected by code, and yet our society today is becoming ever more disconnected. Our public square is fragmented by online echo chambers, where truth and fiction can be hard to tell apart, and where contrasting ideas tend to polarize, not persuade. Now, in the context of all this, we have relearned some key lessons over the course of the past year. First, we have to take care of ourselves because we can't rely on one foreign partner. We have to take care of each other because we are stronger together. And we've learned that now is not the time to be cautious because fortune favors the bold. Nous pouvons nous donner beaucoup plus que d'autres ne pourront jamais nous prendre.
Than others could ever take from us. We are masters in our own home. Canadians will decide what happens here.
It's your future. And we are going to give it back to you. Now, to confront a more dynamic, a more competitive, a more hostile world, we must chart a new course, drawing on our many strengths as a country, relying on our values, and being inspired by our history.
First, on strengths, Canada has what the world wants. Nous sommes bordés par trois océans.
We are
Et nous
bordered by
sommes
3
le seul
oceans,
pays
and we are the
à avoir
only
des
country
accords commerciaux
to
avec
have
chacune
reached
des
trade
économies
agreements with each of the G7 economies, offering our businesses unequaled access to global
We're an
markets.
energy superpower. We start with the 3rd largest reserves of oil, the 4th largest of natural gas. We have an electricity grid that is 85% clean, and we have the vast potential to power the clean economy of the future. We possess one of the largest resources of critical minerals and rare earths. Le Canada est un chef de file en
Canada
intelligence
is a leader
artificielle,
in
dans la
artificial
science
intelligence,
de la vie,
life
dans
sciences,
l'informatique
and
quantique.
quantum computing.
Nos universités
Our
figurent
universities
parmi le meilleur
are among the
au monde.
best
Merci
in the
beaucoup.
world.
Les scientifiques sont parmi
Their
les plus
scientists
cités, et
are
elles
among the
attirent
most
et
cited,
forment les meilleurs talents.
and they attract and train the best talent.
Our government has the fiscal capacity to act decisively, and we must draw on these strengths now. Our second advantage is that Canada has the values to which the world aspires. Canada has always been, and we always will be, committed to fundamental human rights, to human dignity, and to individual freedom. We are a pluralistic society. Our cities are the most diverse in the world, places where people bring the best of their cultures. We have a public square that's loud, that's diverse and free. Et les Canadiens et Canadiennes valorisent la collaboration
And
et le partenariat.
Canadians value
Et
collaboration
nous
and
sommes
partnership,
résolus à bâtir
and we are
un
determined
avenir durable.
to build a sustainable
Ces
future.
valeurs profondes sont aussi
These
des
deeply
atouts
held values
économiques.
are also economic
Elles donnent aux
assets.
investisseurs
They
la
give
confiance
investors
pour bâtir
the
ici.
confidence to
Elles
build
offrent
here.
aux innovateurs des bases stables
They
pour
offer
prendre des
innovators
risques
a
ici.
stable
Elles
foundation to
donnent
take
au
risks
monde
here.
des raisons de
They
faire
give the
confiance
world
aux Canadiens
reasons to
comme
trust
partenaires
Canadians
fiables.
as reliable partners.
L'histoire du Canada est
The
remplie
history of Canada
d'aventuriers,
is filled
de
with
preneurs de risques et
adventurers,
de bâtisseurs.
risk takers,
Au
and
fil des
builders.
siècles, pour réussir et
Over the
prospérer,
centuries,
nous
in
avons
order
dû
to
aller
succeed
plus
and
loin,
prosper,
construire
we have
plus
had to
vite
go
et
further,
rêver
build
plus grand.
faster, and dream bigger.
Il est important de se rappeler que le Canada,
It is important to
d'avant la
remember
Confédération,
that the Canada
c'était une
before
époque
Confederation
d'audace et de prise
was
de risque.
built
long before
through
Confederation, our
bold
country was
action
flourished
and
by
risk-taking.
indigenous peoples. Coureurs de bois and voyageurs who mapped this continent and built vast trading networks from coast to coast to coast before the Americans had even left St. Louis. When the Second World War ended, Canada was ambitious, determined, and united in a mission to build big things. The St. Lawrence Seaway, the Trans-Canada Highway, Expo 67, the CN Tower. Nous avons construit de nouveaux quartiers pour des centaines de milliers
We
de
built
veterans.
new neighborhoods for hundreds of thousands of veterans and their families, and opened new universities to launch their careers. We had the sense that we were in control of our future.
We used to build things in this country. We can build again. We used to explore this country. We can chart new courses again. We used to take big, bold risks in this country. It is time to swing for the fences again. We learned a little lesson about swinging for the fences a couple nights ago, as I recall. And this is what the upcoming budget will be about: building, taking control, and winning. We will make generational investments with a plan to protect our communities, our borders, our way of life. We will build a stronger economy where everyone has a chance to get ahead. And we will empower Canadians with new opportunities, better careers, and a lower cost of living. Now, let me start with protection, because to build more of what we need, we must protect what we have. Safe communities attract people and families to put down roots, get a home, build a rewarding career, and ensure their children get a good education. So as soon as Parliament opened in the spring, we introduced the strongest legislation in Canadian history to secure our borders and crack down on gun trafficking and illegal drugs such as fentanyl. We introduced new legislation to combat the horrifying rise in hate and violent intimidation, including to protect against anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. And as I shared last week, we will table legislation for stricter bail and sentencing laws. To help secure our communities, we're hiring 1,000 new RCMP personnel, and to secure our borders, we're hiring 1,000 new border services officers. As we build safer streets and stronger borders, we also must reinforce our sovereignty in that more dangerous and divided world. And that's why Canada's new government is undertaking the largest increase in defense spending in a generation, or in generations to be more precise. And we're forging new partnerships with allies, such as the European Union, to strengthen our shared security. Parce que vous méritez un foyer sûr.
Because you deserve a safe home. Because you deserve to feel safe in your community.
Parce que nous défendrons la souveraineté.
Because we are defending Canada's sovereignty, and because there is no prosperity without security.
But look, protection is not enough. We have to build, and our plan to build, first and foremost, is here at home so we can take control of our future and, as I said, give you back yours. In the last 6 months, we've worked to create the right conditions to get big things built faster. At the end of June, we passed the One Canadian Economy Act to remove federal barriers to internal trade and to fast-track the approval of nation-building projects. In August, we opened the Major Projects Office, which serves as a single point of contact to get those nation-building projects built faster. Les projets qui vont connecter, vont diversifier.
Projects that will connect us, diversify our economy, and propel us forward. Projects that will export our resources to new partners around the world. Projects that will create hundreds of thousands of well-paid jobs. Good unionized jobs for Canadian workers.
Now, last month, we announced the first tranche, the first group of these major projects. with over $60 billion of investments in nuclear power, in LNG, in carbon capture, in critical minerals, and in new trade corridors. And we outlined strategies from offshore wind to high-speed rail and a sovereign cloud to drive hundreds of billions in further investment, all while creating the conditions for a better connected, more productive, and more ambitious country. And the thing is, we are just getting started. Our next tranche of nation-building projects will be announced by the Grey Cup, after the World Series, but by the Grey Cup. Yeah. And at the core of our strategy will be to catalyze unprecedented investments in Canada over the next 5 years. That's what's going to come above and beyond these projects.
Because we are also focused on building millions of new homes that will strengthen our communities, building faster with Canadian technology, Canadian workers, Canadian lumber, and Canadian steel, building homes that Canadians can really afford.
We launched Build Canada Homes here in Ottawa to help double the pace of housing construction within a decade using new factory technology, cutting building times by 50%, reducing costs by 20%, and lowering emissions by 20%. Now, it's not just what we build, it's also how we build. We will build inclusively in full partnership with Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Inuit, and Métis every step of the way. We will build in solidarity with workers, creating good union jobs. And Budget 2025 will introduce our climate competitiveness strategy. With a focus on results over objectives, on investments over prohibition, we will build sustainably. Le budget va contenir une nouvelle stratégie.
The budget will introduce a new strategy to build sustainably and competitively for the future of Canada. We will be focused on results rather than objectives, on investments rather than prohibitions. We will build sustainably by relying on energy, transportation, housing, and low-emission manufacturing to enhance our competitiveness, because reducing emissions is not only a moral duty, it is also an economic imperative.
Our strategy will recognize that in today's global economy, we have to build sustainably. It's not just a moral duty, it's also an economic imperative. It is a moral duty, but it's an economic imperative. Now, above all, we will build Canadian. The new security threats the world is bringing to our shores means we're making the biggest investments in our military in generations. But up until now, more than 70 cents of every dollar of military spending, military capital expending by our government goes to the United States. With our new Defense Investment Agency, we will make sure we build more of our security and defense capabilities here at home, creating new careers in aerospace and shipbuilding and cyber and AI for Canadian engineers, technicians, and scientists. It's the same thing in steel. Consider that while 80% of the steel that Europe buys is manufactured in Europe, 75% of the steel that the US buys is manufactured in the US. Only 40% of the steel that we use is made here. That doesn't make sense. Not when we have the people, the resources, and the companies to build right here in Canada. So our upcoming budget will move forward with our Buy Canadian policy, prioritizing Canadian steel, aluminum, lumber, manufactured good, and technology for Canadian projects. And with new orders for homes, infrastructure, and defense equipment becoming orders for Canadian suppliers. We will be our own best customer. So the welder who's working on a contract in St. John's can get a full-time job. Et pour qu'un ingénieur de l'Université d'Ottawa
and so that an engineer from the University of Ottawa has the great career right here in Canada.
Around the world are already taking note of new Canadian ambition. Last month, we signed a historic free trade deal with Indonesia, the world's fourth largest country by population. We've just signed foundational agreements with the United Arab Emirates in AI and with the EU in defense and trade and with Germany in critical minerals. We're re-engaging with global giants India and China while we deepen our partnerships with our traditional allies. And to build on this momentum, I'm going to put it in context. Our goal for Canada is to double our non-US exports over the course of the next decade, generating more than $300 billion more in trade, and that's new orders for Canadian resources, technologies, and expertise. Now, you spoke of protection and building, you move to empowering. Each of you in this room and in the overflow room, each of you is here to get an education that you need to go out and build the future that you want. To be empowered with a better shot at the life you want for yourself and your family. We will keep building a country where more people have more of those opportunities. Nous continuerons de soutenir les plus vulnérables.
We will continue to support the most vulnerable and offer respite to those who are struggling by building a country where life is affordable. That is the third goal of our plan, giving all Canadians the means to succeed.
We start by lowering costs with programs and services that provide strong foundations for a good life. So the first thing that we did, the absolute first thing we did after the election was to cut taxes for all Canadians who pay tax, delivering tax savings for more than 22 million Canadians. We cut taxes to reduce the cost of housing for first-time homebuyers, some of whom I hope are in this room, immediately making the goal of home ownership a reality for more Canadians with young families. All of the big projects that we're driving forward, from new housing and new ports and clean energy, will create high-paying careers, many of them union careers here in Canada. It will be a great time to be in the trades. But as well, in the budget, we will unlock new apprenticeships, new skills training programs, and a new talent strategy for the next generation of scientists and innovators who will build our country. And as we build new industries and create new markets, you will be equipped with the skills you need to succeed with those opportunities. Because when Canadians empower each other, everyone benefits, and Canada prospers. Pour saisir ce moment. Pour saisir ce moment charnière.
To seize the opportunities offered by this pivotal moment, we must make difficult decisions. We must change the way government operates, spending less so that Canadians invest more, build our country, and create better careers.
The upcoming budget will balance the operating deficit in 3 years by reducing wasteful government spending and doing more with less. So the fact is that federal spending has been growing over the course of the last decade by more than 7% year over year. We've been spending faster than our economy was growing. So we have to change that, and our government is changing that. As one example, we just completed a 60-day red tape review that identified nearly 500 new ways to streamline government services, cut duplication, and reduce costs. And when we saw that Canada Post was losing $10 million a day, Madam President, would you like to have $10 million a day? Imagine what you could do for the university with $10 million a day. Canada Post losing $10 million a day. We made responsible choices. But the fact is, even with such efficiencies and with better management, we will have to do less of some of the things that we want to do so we can do more of what we must do to build a bigger and better Canada. Ce budget va protéger les programmes essentiels
This
qui donnent
budget
à chaque
will
Canadien
protect the
une
critical
vraie chance
programs
d'avancer.
that give every
On va
Canadian a
protéger
real
le
chance to
régime
get
canadien
ahead.
de soins dentaires
We will
qui
protect
permettent
the Canadian
enfin
Dental
à
Care
plus de
Program
5 millions de Canadiens
that
d'avoir
now
accès
allows
à
more than
son-
5
à-
million
à des
Canadians
soins
to
dentaires
access
abordables.
affordable dental care.
Et on va rendre
And
permanent
we
le programme
will
national
make the National
d'alimentation scolaire,
School Food Program
qui
permanent, a
400
program
000 enfants à
that
recevoir
allows
chaque
400,000
jour des
children
repas.
to receive a healthy meal every single day.
We will protect the National Child Care Program for the over 900,000 children who are getting a strong start that they deserve, and for their parents who no longer have to choose between raising a family and keeping their careers. And as well, our budget will also bring in automatic federal benefits so that the millions of low-income Canadians who aren't part of the system can get the support that they need. Now, we need to be clear-eyed about where we stand today so we can build for tomorrow. Let me give the current economic context. I'm channeling my old central banker days here. Look, the situation in Canada now, the actual situation, is that the rate of inflation has come down. It's come down sharply. But it's also the case that the cost of living is still far too high. It's also the situation in Canada right now that we're building a lot more homes. Housing starts are up this year. And affordability of those houses are improving. But it's still challenging. We need to build many, many more homes, and we need to build them a lot faster. This government is getting immigration under control, with asylum claims down by 1/3 and new temporary foreign workers down by more than 70% this year. To match immigration levels with our needs and our capacity to welcome them, this budget will include Canada's new immigration plan to do better for newcomers and for everyone. It's also the fact that in this economy, we are creating jobs as a whole across it. And it is a fact that we are forecast to be the second fastest growing economy in the G7 over the course of the next 2 years. Even though some critical sectors, I mentioned earlier, autos, steel, lumber, forest products, aluminum, and some regions are facing big, big pressures. So the facts are that at present, despite everything, despite these big changes, our economy is holding up. But it's equally true that if we don't act now, these pressures will only grow. And more fundamentally, our goal is not just to do reasonably well, but to grow stronger than the rest of the G7. And as we work to do so, I want to make this promise to Canadians. I will always be straight about the challenges that we face and the choices that we must make. And to be clear, we won't transform our economy easily or in a few months. It will take some sacrifices, and it will take some time. Our government will work relentlessly to cut waste and drive efficiencies. And when we have to make difficult choices, we will be thoughtful, we'll be transparent, and we'll be fair. We will work collaboratively with our colleagues across the aisle to build, protect, and empower Canadians. We won't play games. We won't waste time. And we won't hold back. We will do what it takes. We will play to win. We will bet on Canada and all Canadians. Je fais cette promesse aux Canadiens.
This is my
Je
promise
serai
to
toujours
Canadians.
franc
I
au
will
sujet des
always
défis
be
que
clear
nous
with
devons
Canadians
affronter
about the
et des
challenges
choix
we
que
must
nous
face
devrons faire.
and the choices we have to make.
Nous n'allons pas transformer notre économie facilement,
The
ni en
transformation of
quelques
our
mois.
economy will not
Cela
happen easily or in a few months.
Certains sacrifices,
It will
et cela
require
prendra
sacrifices,
du temps.
and it will take some time.
Notre gouvernement travaillera
Our government
sans relâche
will work
pour éliminer le
tirelessly
gaspillage
to
et
eliminate
améliorer
waste and enhance efficiency.
Et lorsque nous devrons faire des choix
And when we
difficiles,
must make choices,
avec
we will
réflexion,
do so with
transparence.
thoughtfulness and
nous travaillerons
all transparency.
en collaboration avec
We
nos
will work
collègues de tous les
collaboratively
partis pour
with our
bâtir,
colleagues from all the
protéger
parties
et donner
to
plus
build,
de pouvoir aux Canadiens.
protect, and
Nous
empower
ne
Canadians.
jouerons pas de jeu,
We
et nous
will
ne
not play
perdrons
games,
pas de temps.
and we won't
Nous
waste
ne
time.
retiendrons pas. Nous
We
ferons
won't
tout
hold
ce
back.
qu'il faut.
We will
Nous
do
jouerons
whatever it
pour
takes,
gagner.
because
Nous
we will play to
miserons
win,
sur le Canada
and we
et
will
sur
bet on
tous les
Canada
Canadiens.
and on all
C'est notre
Canadians.
pays.
It is
C'est
our
votre
country.
avenir.
It's
Nous
your
allons
future.
vous en donner le contrôle.
We will give you that control.
And to finish, because we're all in this together, I ask you to get involved. The fact you're here this evening, you can be doing many other things, shows that you're interested in being involved. Get involved. Look out for each other. Look after each other. I know from the history that I read in university and the history that I've lived since graduating that fortune truly does favor the bold. And the hinge of fate will turn on what Canada does right now. We're going to have to change how we do some things. But we will never change who we are. This moment has revealed, yes, the limits to our economic independence. Limits that we must tackle head on, and we will. But more importantly, what it's revealed is a nation that's more determined, generous, hardworking, compassionate, and ambitious than any other on earth. We are Canada strong. Canada fort. Vive le Canada. Thank you.